Of all the famous artists that you might know of, probably one of the best-known painters would arguably be Pablo Picasso. His rich cubism style and bright colors make him stand out amongst the greats of history. But he wouldn't have become famous if it weren't for his best friend and fellow artist, Georges Braque. Hi, and welcome to Whoa History. In today's video, I will be showing you the great Georges Braque and how he influenced the great Pablo Picasso. Picasso and Braque had a relationship that was equal parts close friendship, competition, and two-man adventure into the unknown. The two artists were always in each other's studios, musing over each other's work and motivating, challenging, and inspiring each other. Picasso said, "I went to Braque's studio almost every night, or Braque came to mine. We each had to find out what the other had done that day." Through this artistic partnership, Picasso and Braque came up with cubism, a new style of painting that broke away from old ways of fine art. Picasso and Braque's relationship is a great example of how opposites can attract each other. They came from very different backgrounds and lifestyles. Braque was a tall, quiet, and organized Frenchman, whose art was guided by reason and balance, while Picasso was a short, cocky, and unpredictable Spaniard who was a pretentious womanizer. Braque led a private life, avoiding the spotlight, and was faithful to one woman for all his days. Picasso was called the first famous artist, and he loved being famous. But despite coming from very different places and having very different personalities, Picasso and Braque were able to complement each other and help bring a shared vision to life when they created cubism together. Both Picasso and Braque challenged the idea that art should be a copy of the real world. At first, they got ideas from works by Paul Cézanne and art from Africa. Paul Cézanne's use of fragmented space and unclear shapes, as well as the geometric shapes and figures that can be seen in African art, especially in African masks, sparked their imagination. Together, Picasso and Braque created their own unique style. Picasso switched from making pictures from stories to making pictures from pictures, while Braque used his creativity to play with materials, textures, light, and space. Braque gave cubism many of its characteristics, such as distorted shapes and figures, and a palette of browns, grays, and blacks. They simplified figures and objects into geometric parts and planes that may or may not add up to the whole figure or object as it would look in the real world. They also showed different points of view on the same plane, giving the impression of a flat, two-dimensional surface. Picasso and Braque also tried out putting pieces of colored and printed paper into their paintings. Picasso's 1912 work, Still Life with Chair Caning, is thought to be the first collage. Braque's 1912 work, Fruit Dish and Glass, is thought to be the first papier collé, or pasted paper. This suggests that Picasso and Braque came up with both techniques at the same time. Picasso is often seen as the more popular artist, so Braque's role in cubism isn't talked about as much, though both artists made important contributions to the Cubist movement. Picasso and Braque worked well together until Braque joined the French army in the fall of 1914, at the start of World War I. After the war, the two artists went in different directions and never got back together. Picasso and Braque sometimes derided each other, but stayed true to what they had in common from 1907 to 1914. They never talked about what went on between them. "Picasso and I said things to each other that will never be said again, and that no one will ever understand," Braque said. This kind of dedication and respect is rare in the art world, and shows that they thought their time together was sacred. Picasso and Braque's work together is unique in the history of art, because of how intense, long, and important it was. Few other styles of art showcase the power of collaboration better than their friendship. During the time they worked together, Picasso and Braque not only made some very good works, but they also created a visual language that could be used by artists with very different interests in art, literature, and politics. Even though most of Picasso and Braque's Cubist works are paintings, both also made beautiful prints in the Cubist style. Cubist prints like these are very rare, and they are often made to look like famous Cubist paintings, like Picasso's Still Life with a Bottle of Rum, 1911, and Braque's Homage à J.S. Bach, 1911-12. Cubism is said to have been started and led by both Picasso and Braque, making these prints iconic, and some of their most collectible and valued graphic works to this day. This concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Click the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. What do you think about this friendship? Do you think Georges made Picasso famous? Let me know in the comments below. Click on the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for watching Whoa History. See you next time!